everybody? This is Pat with Infinite Fitness coming at you guys with another video today. Today's video is going to be on internal versus external focuses in the gym, when to use them, how to use them, and why they're important. So I hope that all of you enjoyed today's video. Let's get into it. So let's start out by talking about what an internal versus an external focus is. Okay, an internal focus at the gym would be focusing on a specific muscle or group of muscles while you're training. So let's say you have an arm day and you're trying to grow your biceps. One of the best ways to do that is to focus on squeezing your bicep as you are performing the movements. Okay? Now an external focus, on the other hand, is not focusing on squeezing a particular muscle or group of muscles, but rather moving an external load or grooving a movement pattern. Okay? So both of these things are very important in the gym and they both have their uses. Let's get into how to use. So internal focuses in the gym are best used for single joint exercises or for accessory movements that you're using to bring up a particular muscle group. They can also be super helpful if you are, participating in bodybuilding or trying to grow, a specific muscle. Having a good, mind-muscle connection with that particular muscle can be helpful in growing the muscle. So for example, let's say that I was going to perform a tricep extension. One of the most efficient ways to perform a tricep extension is to focus the entire time on trying to work my triceps, okay? Now, let's say on the other hand, I decided to use an external focus with this particular movement. If I was focusing on just trying to move the external load, I probably would be incorporating other muscle groups that I'm not trying to target with this exercise. So if I just focus on moving this up and down, not really working my triceps anymore, I'm now using my chest, my lats, and my shoulders to just move the weight back and forth, and it's not going to be that beneficial. I'm not going to get that much out of it. So the reason why using an internal focus when we're doing single joint exercises is there's a few reasons why we want to do it. So number one, when you're doing a single joint or a singular exercise, the goal of that particular exercise is to target a muscle group, okay? So nobody's gonna ask you, hey, what's your max tricep extension? Nobody cares about that, okay? What we're trying to do with this tricep extension is we're trying to grow the triceps, okay? So if I'm just sitting here and moving this back and forth like this, it's not really getting me to that outcome of building my triceps. So if I use that internal focus and I squeeze, come back up, squeeze, come back up, it's gonna be a lot more efficient for the particular goal. Now, if we transition into external focus, let's talk a little bit about the nuance behind this. So let's say on the other hand, I was performing an exercise like a barbell back squat. Let's say I loaded up the weight on the bar, I took it out of the rack, and I was heavily focusing on squeezing my quads. All right? What would probably happen if I was heavily focusing on squeezing my quads is it would detract from the overall effort of the movement. So, instead of me focusing on moving the barbell with as much force as possible, if I was focusing on a singular muscle group, it would probably limit the amount of weight that I would be able to handle on this exercise. Because again, the barbell back squat is not only using the quads, it's using the hamstrings, the glutes, the core, the back, all of those muscle groups. So instead of focusing on squeezing my quads, what I want to focus on instead is I want to focus on moving the barbell with as much force as possible. Now, there is a caveat to this. Let's say that I was using the squat as an accessory movement to grow my quadriceps. Let's say that I was focusing on, growing my quads in a particular block. Then it might be beneficial to choose the stance that I'm going to feel the most in my quads, okay? So, if I wanted to create a quad dominant squat, I might narrow my feet a little bit and then perform the movement, in this particular stance. Now, the caveat to this again is because this is still a large movement, we're going to be moving more weight. In order to not detract effort and take away from the progress that I could make on this movement, even if I have a more narrow stance, I might be focused on feeling it in my quads, but I'm still focused on moving it with as much force as possible. So that is the biggest difference between an internal focus and an external. So, let's connect the dots and put this all together. Giving you a recap, an internal focus is great for single joint, accessory movements, or hypertrophy athletes. External focus is better for compound or effort-based movements, power work, or strength-focused athletes, okay? Now, whether you are a strength-focused or a hypertrophy-focused athlete, it is important that you learn to develop both of these skills, and I will tell you exactly why. If you're a strength-focused athlete, and let's say you have a sticking point of not being able to use your quads when you squat. Let's say that you do like the sissy squat or the stripper squat or whatever it's called. If you run into that, it means that you're lacking some quad strength in the movement. So knowing how to use and contract your quads and having a good mind-muscle connection with your quads is a way that you can bring that muscle group up so that way that no longer becomes a sticking point. Now, if you are a hypertrophy athlete, it is also beneficial to learn how to drive effort in your workouts. One of the things that creates hypertrophy is mechanical tension on the muscle. So regardless of if you're focusing on your quads or not, if you're going from the bottom of a squat to the top of a squat, your quads are working somewhere in there. If you learn how to push them near maximal effort, they are more than likely going to grow. So especially if you're a size athlete and you're running a strength block, it can be very, very beneficial to know how to push yourself. So it is important to take time learning both of these skills, okay? If you want to learn an internal focus, take your time with the movement. Slower tempos are a little bit better. Focus on squeezing the muscle and relaxing the muscle. If you are focusing on an external cue, faster tempos are better, trying to lift the weight as explosively as possible, grooving a movement pattern, getting a little bit better with stuff like that. So regardless of what your goals are in training, it is good to have both of these tools in your pocket. So that is our video for today. I hope that all of you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something. If you did, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also find me on Instagram at pat_IF personal training. Again, that's pat_IF personal training. Anyway, have a great day, and as always,